what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
In a barbecue world that's full of options, from the best places to eat to the equipment to use and the methods you really ought to try, it helps to have a tour guide to lead you toward the best of the best. Someone who has been there before and who can help you understand what to expect. Today we have that tour guide. Ryan Cooper is the barbecue tourist, your guide to the best pit stops in America, and he's a great resource for news and information, events, and backyard cooking, especially as this summer season of smoking really gets fired up. Ryan, welcome to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, excited to get you here on the show. We had a chance to meet in person at John G's back in March, and I'm really looking forward to talking with you. First, I want to just hit it from the top, and the most important thing, let everybody know, what is the barbecue tourist?
Well, the barbecue tourist is really my handle on social media. Kind of a story when I first started this out, and we can talk about that. I wanted to be the barbecue traveler, but that was that handle was already taken on social media, so I had to go with the second best, which was barbecue tourist.
Cool. And so how did you get started on this journey, and what's it really all about?
So that's not necessarily a straightforward answer, but I was born in Kansas City, and so kind of grew up around Kansas City style barbecue my whole life. And of course I grilled and smoked meat in college and stuff like that. And when I got my first house, when I moved to Omaha, Nebraska, I really, started getting serious about smoking meat and cooking at home. And I saw some YouTube videos about all these different styles of barbecue in other places. And so around 2016, I started traveling to different places. One of the first spots I went to was Peg Leg Porker in Nashville, just to see what barbecue is like in other places. And then in 2018 is when I actually started Barbecue Tourist and decided, yeah, this is my thing. This is what I want to do. I want to travel around the country and really experience all the different kinds of barbecue and see what things are like all across America.
Yeah, and I'm sure you found out that there's quite a bit of diversity around, right?
I sure did. Yeah, that's for sure.
So it's in that time, since either 2016 or 2018, how many barbecue restaurants could you estimate that you visited in that time?
I could not even begin to tell you. It's hundreds. I went just on one trip to Memphis over 3 days. I went to 14 barbecue places. So that's just one spot, one little blip on the radar. So I've just been to hundreds. I stopped counting a long time ago.
Yeah. So, apart from trying out the different varieties, what are you hoping to accomplish in your barbecue tourist adventure?
Well, I don't know. I really just want to experience as much as I can. I want to try as many spots as I can and really understand barbecue and all its different, characteristics. And I just enjoy it so much. I love it. I love the people. And of course the food is great too.
Yeah. So you mentioned that, you were in Memphis and you went to 15 some odd different locations in a place like Memphis or Kansas City or maybe even Omaha, where there's a whole bunch of barbecue options. How do you decide where to visit?
Well, I do a lot of research ahead of time. I read as much as I can. I talk to friends and people I know in the industry, of course, and read as much as I can. But logistics really sort of makes a lot of the decisions for you. I experienced that most recently when we visited your neck of the woods in the Carolinas, and just certain spots are only open on certain days, and maybe they sell out before dinner time. So a lot of times those kind of logistical those logistics really make the decision for you. It's sort of things fall into place more easily. Of course, I have a list of the bucket list of barbecue spots that I still haven't been to all across the country. I keep adding to them. I knock a few off, but then I add 10 more on there too. So those will always kind of rise to the top. And I got to knock a couple of those off on that most recent trip to the Carolinas, which was good. But yeah, it can be challenging, especially since you want to do so much. You want to go to you want to go to every place and you want to try everything that they have, so but it's just not realistic to do that. So you have to make some tough choices. You have to decide, okay, this is my priority on this trip. And so it can be a challenge, but it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
Sure. So you've been all around. You mentioned a lot of hot spots for barbecue. Are there any parts of the country that you haven't been to yet that you still want to get to and try?
In terms of classic barbecue regions, no, I've pretty much been to all of those. But as far as up and coming kind of areas where there might be new and emerging scenes in barbecue, I would say California is a place. Obviously, I've been to California, but not for barbecue. And I haven't gotten to experience a lot of the kind of newer spots that have opened up there. I haven't really experienced traditional Santa Maria style California barbecue either. So I would say that would really be kind of the major spot for me that I would like to try. I would also say there are some spots up in the Northeast in New York and Boston that probably are really great. My partner in crime, Sean, lives in New York City, so he covers a lot of that. So I've neglected that since he sort of is in that area. But I've certainly gotten to visit lots of spots in Texas, Kansas City, Memphis, and the Carolinas a little bit as well.
Cool. So, and we'll get to Sean and the smoke sheet here in just a couple of minutes to talk a little bit more about that. But of all the places that you visited, and I know you can't pick just one restaurant that's the best one. You've been to hundreds, and everybody's a little bit different, and everybody's good at something. But is there a style of barbecue that you like, whether it's Carolina or Kansas City or what they do in Texas? Is there a variety or a style that you like the most?
There's really not. I mean, that sort of kind of goes against what I am about and what got me into this whole thing. And honestly, it kind of annoys me when people, and I just dealt with it just yesterday. I think we posted some list on the best places in Kansas City, and someone says, Texas barbecue beats all this stuff. And it's like ridiculous to say that, of course. I'm not one of those people that's like, my style's the best and all the other styles suck. I think that's weird. I can't imagine eating one style and one style only of barbecue. And, I think there are good characteristics about every single style there is. I grew up, obviously, with Kansas City barbecue, so that has a special place for me. If I were absolutely gun to head, forced to choose a style, I would say I tend to enjoy Texas style barbecue significantly. But having said that, I like all the different styles. I like being able to experience all these different regions and the diversity that there really is in this country.
Yeah, that's great. There's good barbecue and bad barbecue, but it may not be good or bad based on the type of style it is. It's just different.
And that's right. That's exactly right.
So you go to a barbecue restaurant or 12 on one of these trips. After you visit the restaurant, what happens next? What do you do with all that?
Well, I typically I write about it. I also post about things on social media quite a lot. When I started this journey, I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but my initial goal with creating Barbecue Tourist, I wanted to create a web app or something that people could have for barbecue. I got on a detour a little bit and never really kind of did that, but that was my initial goal. So I actually make maps for the National Park Service professionally. That's my day job. And
Okay.
so I wanted to do something like that for barbecue, almost have like a web map that showed you all the best spots for barbecue all across the country. And so when I first started out, that's kind of what I did. I really, created maps of where you could go, what the different styles were like, things like that. But since then, now I more write about barbecue and I do social media about
Okay.
barbecue.
That's a good segue into the smoke sheet. Tell me a little bit about that, and how did you get hooked up with your friend Sean that's in New York City, but kind of originally from your part of the world?
Yeah, so this is kind of interesting. Uh, on my first trip outside of the Kansas City area for barbecue, I went to Texas, and one of the most famous spots in Texas is Snow's Barbecue with
Hmm.
the famous Tootsie is the pitmaster there, and
Right.
I literally I had heard about it on YouTube or something like that, but I really didn't know anything about Snow's or Texas barbecue. I just heard you're supposed to get there early. So I showed up at 8 in the morning. I didn't know that there would be a long line or anything like that, but I showed up at 8 in the morning, and lo and behold, there's this guy standing right in front of me in line, and I'm there by myself. I'm just standing there. There's this guy right in front of me talking about barbecue, and he seems to know as much as I do and love it just as much as I do. And it
Yeah.
ended up being Sean. And as we're talking, we found out he was also from Kansas City. He also went to the University of Missouri, same as me, and so we had a lot in common. And we ended up, you go to these restaurants, you want to try everything, and here I was, a solo traveler. So me and Sean and one of his friends and some other traveler from Canada, we all just kind of made friends and in line, and we said, hey, let's just order everything and share it. And so that's what we did. And so after that trip, and actually the next day, I saw Sean at another barbecue restaurant. So I was like, okay, this guy has good taste in restaurants. And so after that, he and I kept in touch and everything. And we ended up meeting a few months later in Kansas City at a restaurant there. And he proposed the idea, hey, let's do a newsletter. He's a journalist. His background is in journalism, and he wanted to kind of do something with that. And he said, what do you think of that? And I said, yeah, that sounds wonderful. I would love to write about barbecue. And so we ended up launching the Smoke Sheet in 2018, just a few months after I started Barbecue Tourist. And the Smoke Sheet is a weekly publication dedicated to barbecue and grilling, live fire cooking. And it's an online publication. We write original content. We share some news headlines, major news. We share media recommendations, recipes, and then we have an events list for all the biggest, best festivals and competitions across the country. And so it's a weekly kind of publication about barbecue from a national perspective. So we're not focused on, Kansas City or one place. We're looking at everything across the country.
Okay. And how many of those editions have you put out, and what kind of following have you started to build there with the smoke sheet?
So we've actually published every week since we've launched. So we're about to. I don't think we've missed a week. We're about to publish our 300th issue coming up
Wow.
here pretty soon. So
Yeah.
it's a week in, week out kind of thing. We've kind of built up our subscriber list slowly over the years, but it's been steady for several
Hmm.
years now. So we do have thousands of subscribers, which is
Wow.
nice, and we have a pretty decent following on social media as well. I have a good sized following on Barbecue Tourist, and those people. A lot of those people follow the Smoke Sheet as well. And Sean has his own NYC BBQ social media. So we have people that it's published every week, and people get it and subscribe through their email, or some people they consume it through social media. They might not want to read everything top to bottom every week. They might just care about Carolina barbecue, and when we do a story on that, or they might care about a particular story or a competition or something. So um, we have a diversity of readers for the publication.
Okay, yeah, great to know, and had an opportunity to be part of the smoke sheet a little while back, and appreciate you guys allowing me to have a little bit of space
Oh
there to tell
man.
the story about the Carolina Barbecue Festival. Do you,
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, do you feel like you guys have gotten where you want to be with the smoke sheet, or are there more goals to accomplish?
Actually, funny that you mentioned that. I think in terms of, as I said, we've had a steady subscriber base for the last couple of years. So we've accomplished a lot of those goals that we set out with. But one of our major goals is to kind of incorporate more voices in
Hmm.
the future. So we've had a lot more guest writers the past few years, and we were fortunate to have you write. We would love to have you write some more. It was wonderful. We've been partnering with Monk from the Barbecue Bros,
Yeah,
also another Carolina writer, and John Tanner from John Tanner's Barbecue Blog, and some other people. So we've had several guest contributors, and we're hoping to incorporate more. You know, I love writing about barbecue, but I'm sure people would like to hear from other people as well. So uh, that's one of our major goals, I think, with the smoke sheet.
sure. Just like barbecue, variety is the spice of
Yeah,
life. So get a few
that's
different
right.
voices in there. Yeah, nice idea. So I want to kind of get into what we call the family jewels or barbecue
Okay.
secret time here, and talk a little
All
bit
right.
about you and who you are. And you mentioned that you work with the National Park Service, and you draw some maps. That's your job, creating
Yep.
maps. How well does that really kind of flow into your ability to travel all over the country and try out all these barbecue places?
Well, it used to. I mean, it flows very well. I think that naturally was a good fit for this. I was, interested in travel, and I got to do a lot of that with my job previously. That's sort of went hand in hand with the barbecue thing. Was, I would go travel along the trail or whatever for work, and then I would look for something to do off time, and often that was going and visiting barbecue places. And so, yeah, those go hand in hand together. My background in this professionally is cultural geography, so I'm really interested in how you know cultures are different and in different places across the
Yeah.
country, and that really goes hand in hand with barbecue and barbecue styles and in different regions.
Definitely, and that gives you a great perspective and I guess probably a better appreciation for how these cultures are different, even in their kind of small, nuanced ways.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Definitely.
and tell me about your cooking side. Now, I follow the barbecue tourist. It's not just you going out and reviewing and seeing these other restaurants. What are you doing on the cooking side, and how do you enjoy doing that stuff?
Well, so as I said earlier, I always enjoyed cooking. That's really kind of what got me into this. I wanted to travel these different places to understand kind of what the differences were, so I could take it home and implement it in the backyard. And so I've always enjoyed grilling and everything, but got really serious about that even before I started Barbecue Tourist and everything. So yeah, I cook all the time. I'm cooking right now. I threw some ribs on the smoker 5 minutes before I got on this call with you. I am always cooking barbecue pretty much almost every day or pretty close to that, and I enjoy it.
Wow, what do you enjoy about it, and really the barbecue life in general?
So for cooking wise, the thing that I enjoy the most is really it's kind of slowing things down, being outside, smelling that smoke, getting time to relax and catch up on podcasts and just kind of look at the sky, enjoy nature, enjoy being outside, and just kind of slowing life down a little bit. Relaxing and thinking and sitting out by the smoker. That's my happy place. I'm about 5 feet away from it right now. Even
Yeah.
I that's really what I enjoy the most. I mean, the food is wonderful as well, but um, I enjoy sitting outside and cooking much more than I do standing in the kitchen and cooking, for instance.
Yeah, you enjoy the low and slow part
Yep,
of it. So, hey, I
absolutely.
want to
Yep.
pick into some more secrets for you. And maybe this is my own personal interest, but what do you feel like is the secret to growing that huge following for the barbecue tour stand? And as you say, the thousands of subscribers for the smoke sheet. How do you get a big audience?
Well, so my goal when I was standing in line at Snow's Barbecue, I had 27 followers on Instagram, and I thought if I could get even 1,000 people to follow me, that would be success for me, is what I
Yeah.
thought. And so I worked really hard to get to that 1,000 followers, and I did that by being consistent. I posted all the time, and I also the other thing that I wanted to do was to put a little bit of myself in there, put my face out there a little bit. I saw a lot of accounts that were really beautiful photos of food, and I thought that was kind of boring. There's only so much that I can really do with that. I felt that people wanted someone to connect with a little bit more, and so I tried to be, putting my face out there. I tried to go out, as I said, and travel around and meet people in person and just make a connection with people. And I think that has been the key to growing as much as I have. And it's been quite a crazy journey, but really just a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you and I talked a little bit offline, or I guess online, about this. The algorithm's always changing in Instagram or
Oh,
Facebook or
man.
wherever it is. How do you adjust to, or do you even try to adjust to comply with what they're doing? Do you adjust your strategy at all, or do you just keep doing what you're doing and putting yourself out there?
In terms of growing, I think I'm at a point now where that stuff shouldn't matter to me as much. And so I think I'm kind of at the point where I don't want to constantly change to fit the algorithm. I'm just going to enjoy this. And if my following shrinks a little, that's fine. That's just the way it is. It is kind of frustrating. You put a lot of yourself into this, I put now 6 years into this. So obviously I would love to continue growing and doing things, but it's a lot of work. It's not just all fun and games. And so you've got to kind of balance. I have other interests. I have other priorities as well. I have a family, I have friends and other things that I want to do. So it's hard just to put everything into barbecue and social media.
That's a good segue into my next question. And it's, you go to Memphis and you go to 15 barbecue restaurants, or you come to the Carolinas, and I know y'all went to a handful of them here, some of the best places we've got around here. Ryan, do you ever get tired of barbecue?
Oh my gosh. So I do, but I was just thinking about this. Like, it's only for a couple of days, I experience this when I go to Texas. I'll hit all these barbecue spots, and it's really heavy brisket and beef ribs and stuff. And I just, after going to so many places, I get kind of sick of it, but it's only for about a day or two. And then I get that itch to have barbecue again. So I probably eat barbecue, 5+ days out of the week, no matter what, even when I'm not traveling.
Yeah.
I don't get as sick of barbecue as most people. That's for sure.
What about your family? Do they get sick of barbecue? Are you dragging them on for the ride too?
I am, and they are not. Honestly, they are not barbecue lovers at all. So
Really?
that is a challenge. Yeah, my wife and son do not really like barbecue. Thankfully, my dad, who lives in the same community as we do, he's a big barbecue guy, and he's like me. He really doesn't get sick of barbecue much. Even I could cook every day and he'll still eat it and doesn't complain. So thankfully I have him to sort of share all this with. But yeah, the family gets pretty tired of barbecue, that's for sure.
All right, I want to talk about your secret recipe, and I've seen a little bit of stuff like this, but you definitely got your own original spin on it. So you've called them boink balls, and I'm going to get all the instructions and the ingredients up there on the web and on the blog here as your podcast goes live. So we don't need to go there, but tell me a little bit about why you chose this particular recipe and what sets it apart from maybe some other things out in the world.
So I chose this just because I haven't shared it before. It was a kind of a recipe that I haven't put out there. And I chose it also because it uses bison, and bison are, kind of a thing Nebraska is known for a little bit, being a plain state. So I used the Central Nebraska Buffalo Company ground bison in this recipe. And so yeah, I just chose it for that reason, and also because we've got Memorial Days coming up, and people are often they're gathering with family and friends, and they want lots of little appetizer type things, and this is one of those kind of recipes. So, kind of a mix of bison meat, pork, and then wrapped in bacon and smoked. I thought it would be perfect for that.
Yeah, perfect for a summer barbecue, summer cookout to bring as a side. You bring your dish to the potluck. That's a great choice. As I'm preparing it, is there anything that I really need to kind of keep in mind when I'm doing it to make sure that nothing goes wrong?
So the one major thing, and I learned this the hard way, of course, is when you're forming those meatballs. This is true of any meatball. Don't worry about kind of overdoing it in terms of making the meatball. Just kind of put the meat together, form the ball, and be done with it. If you kind of overwork it, it's going to get really mushy and kind of not actually goes against what you would think, but it doesn't hold together very well.
Okay. Well, again, all the ingredients and the specifics, I'll include them on the blog at lowslowbbqshow.com. And so you'll get all the information. And thanks for sharing some great pictures. We'll get those over there too. So folks listening, check out lowslowbbqshow.com. I did want to ask you before we get off here, I know sponsorship has been a part of your world, and you've incorporated it into the barbecue tourist. How did that piece take off for you? And do you have any regrets about the way that has gone?
So yeah, that was also another surprising and interesting part of this whole thing is, when I wanted to grow this barbecue tourist, social media, at first I would contact companies and really try to get, sponsorships or things like that, and didn't have a lot of success. So I just said, okay, I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm just going to do what I like to do. And that's exactly what I did. And lo and behold, after you do that, then all the companies want to work with you, which is nice. So yeah, and just connecting with like-minded kind of creators. And I got to give a shout out to my friend Y, who's a talented photographer. Once she and I started working together about 4 years ago, sponsors really, really wanted to kind of get on board with Barbecue Tourist and everything like that. As far as regrets, I think early on when you're starting out and you just want to work with anybody, and so you're just so eager to get out there and to start doing things. And I think I would recommend to people, I'm not saying this is necessarily regret, but I would recommend that people be a little more discerning. You don't have to work with every single person that approaches you or every single company or whatever. Really think that how does this work with me and what I'm trying to do? And is this a good fit? I think otherwise sometimes it can be a little frustrating. It can be a little, challenging to work with just any old brand that comes your way. So anybody that's trying to do things like that on social media, I would recommend just really give it some thought and be discerning about who you work with, because you're going to be tied to them for a while.
That's good advice. So we're kind of getting to the end of our time, and I'm going to throw you a curveball here, Ryan, but I know you're going to be ready for it. We haven't been through the low and slow showdown in a while, in a few episodes. So I've just got some quick one-word question and answer for you. I want to share your opinion in a quick way, and I hopefully won't get you too far off track. So right out of the gate, do you want to cook over gas, pellets, charcoal, or wood?
Wood.
What is your favorite wood?
Pecan.
Why pecan?
Do I have to answer with one word?
No, no.
Oh, pecan is it's just very versatile to me. You can use it with pork, chicken, or beef.
Okay. So, do you want pork, beef, or chicken?
Beef.
What is the best state in these United States for barbecue? Understanding we've got the caveats before, but you've got a gun and you got to pick one state.
I gotta say Texas. To me, that's the spot for barbecue. It just is.
Understand, but this is a North Carolina or Carolina podcast, so I'm going to make you pick which is better, North Carolina or South Carolina.
North for sure. North.
What is the best North Carolina style, Eastern or Western?
Ooh, man, that's hard. I'm gonna be controversial here and say Eastern.
Eastern,
I really
that's
enjoy
not
it.
controversial.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
That's just an opinion. It happens to be the wrong one, but that's an opinion.
Okay. Yeah.
So on the meat before you cook, do you rub it or do you do it naked?
Rub. Yeah, definitely rub.
Do you want sauce? Is it better with or without?
This will be a controversial one too, but I'm from Kansas City, so I like sauce.
And do you want it sweet or do you want it spicy?
Ooh, both. But if I had to choose, I would say sweet.
This is the big one, Ryan. Is barbecue a verb or a noun?
It's both, but it's a noun. It's both.
And that, my friends, is the lowdown from the barbecue tourist, Ryan Cooper. Thanks so much for joining us today, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
You've been listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show on the Mesh.tv network of podcasts. Be sure to visit us online at lowslowbbqshow.com. That's where you'll find the blog, and you can hear other podcast episodes featuring the Carolina's great pitmasters and others. While you're at lowslowbbqshow.com, be sure to sign up for the Lowdown newsletter. We'll send you the latest podcasts, blogs, and Carolina barbecue news directly to your email inbox every Tuesday morning before sunrise. Special thanks again, Ryan. Thanks for joining us, the barbecue tourist and one of the producers of The Smoke Sheet.
Thank you.
Thanks as well to our producer, Andrew Moose, and the whole team at the Mesh.tv network of podcasts. Most especially, thank you for listening to the Low and Slow Barbecue Show. Remember, for the best barbecue and the best barbecue podcast, make it low and slow.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.